Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review 40 Acres from writer-director R.T. Thorne, and this film focuses on the story in a post-apocalyptic world with food scarcity. A black family of Canadian farmers descended from American Civil War migrants defend their homestead against cannibals trying to seize their resources. And this film stars Danielle Deadwyler, Michael Greyeyes, and much of this film is about family dynamics. And I think one of the most important things right off the bat is that I think Thorne does a really good job of setting up this world. It's, pretty common at this point to have like a fungal-based apocalypse because of The Last of Us and this and that. But it sets up this particular issue, food scarcity, which means that this farm is that important. And the food is so important on this farm. It's led by Danielle Deadwyler's character, who is not very trusting, very intense, and also very dangerous. And you have this whole dynamic where they're isolated, and one interloper completely changes the game for them. This young woman who builds a connection with their son, and she's there because she's desperately trying to save her own community. And this film delves into a lot of those themes about community and trust and humanity and what you would do for your fellow human being. Or do you protect your own? And that's very much the perspective that Haley, Danielle Deadwyler's character, has in her perspective. It's do right by her family and screw everybody else. And you have the antagonists of this film are not the most intriguing. They're cannibals. There's not a whole lot else to them. They go farm to farm. They have their particular approach to trying to seize these farms which adds some interesting layers to the plot of this film. But outside of that, they're pretty nondescript antagonist, but there is that, uncomfortable connection with some of these cannibals and this extremely aggressive and violent and untrusting protagonist. And you have this whole family dynamic, which I think is really the heart and soul of this film. The conflict between their son, played by Kateem O'Connor, and his mother. I think Greyeyes does a great job as the father, who, generally is the much more supportive one in the family, but also has his very particular perspective on his indigenous upbringing and his traditions and his connections with his kids through those things. I think Lena Robinson, who's one of the daughters, I think really stands out, probably out of all of the children in terms of her role in this film. I think the film has some interesting things to say. I think that it makes good use of this post-apocalyptic setting. It's very gritty and dark and intense. I think it does a good job with the action, the violence, the brutality of it. This doesn't pull punches. There's certainly thrilling moments. There's some really unnerving moments and imagery in the film as well. And I think that this film draws upon a lot of tropes and groundwork laid by other post-apocalyptic media, and also has some more cliched elements. Like, probably one of the weaker elements is like this romantic dynamic between the son and this young woman who comes on to the farm to begin with that really shakes up their whole entire situation. But I feel like this film has stakes, and there's some really sad, brutal moments, and it's hard to watch some of these moments, and I think the film does a good job, and I think Thorne does a good job of building empathy for these characters so that we can get invested in their journey, their experience. And I think this is a pretty above average post-apocalyptic thriller, and I think it does a lot of good things right, and is a worthy little flick coming your way into theaters. But those are my thoughts on 40 Acres. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.